Coming up on this Monday edition of Newsline at noon, the state-run rail operator KORAIL, which further reduced services as a union strike entered its third week today, unveils a recruitment plan to pressure striking workers to get back to work. The ruling party strongly protests opposition leaders' introduction of a bill to launch a special investigation separate from that of the prosecutions into government agencies' alleged meddling in last year's presidential election. Plus, tens of thousands of anti-government protesters returned to the streets of Bangkok, demanding the Prime Minister's immediate resignation. The country's main opposition party says it will boycott elections set for February. These stories and more on Newsline at noon.
Thanks for joining us. You're watching Newsline at noon. I'm Choo ShinSoo in Seoul.
Very good to have you with us. I'm Mark Broom. Let's start with the rail strike that enters its third week on this Monday. Rail services with subway and high-speed train operations running at 70 to 80% of normal levels. The state-run rail operator has announced plans to hire hundreds of new and experienced workers.
The union refuses to budge, especially after police raided a union umbrella office. Our Kim Jongun reports.
As the railway strike rumbles into its third week, rail operations around the country remain severely impacted. To prepare for a prolonged strike, KORAIL announced on Monday that it plans to hire hundreds of experienced workers and interns who will be ready to work from January. Korea's bullet train KTX services are running at just 70% of normal levels. Commuters in the capital region are also being inconvenienced as subway services in Seoul were reduced to 85% of normal levels starting Monday morning. The country's industrial sector is feeling the pinch worse than the public, however, with cargo train services running at just a third of normal levels. Some companies say they are running low on supplies amid the gridlock. Adding to the frosty atmosphere between the strikers and the authorities, there was a major standoff Sunday between union members and riot police in downtown Seoul.
We will carry out the arrest warrants for the rail union leaders.
Hoping to round up key union leaders, hundreds of riot police surrounded the main office of the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, a militant union umbrella group. Union members created a human blockade, locked doors with chains, and used fire hoses to push back police as they tried to enter the premises. Denouncing the police's actions, the KCTU announced that its members will launch a strike from this coming Saturday, December 28. The government continues to demand the striking rail workers return to work.
Point where the government cannot tolerate this any longer, as the prolonged illegal strike is inconveniencing the public and affecting the national economy.
Over 130 union workers taken into custody Sunday are currently under investigation, but the union leaders the police were hoping to get managed to get away. The strike started after the state-run rail operator KORAIL decided to create a subsidiary for a new KTX service, a move union members say is the first step toward privatization. Kim Jongun, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye has defended the government's decision to send riot police to the union office Sunday, saying that if the government were to abandon its principles and compromise just to end the strike, there would be no future for the country, either economically or socially. Speaking at a meeting with her top secretaries on Monday, President Park stressed that the government should stick to its principles, especially during hard times, and work towards resolving the issue with the public as the first priority. Pundits say her comments reflect the Park administration determination not to back away from dealing with the railway strike. Korea's two rival parties have responded to the government's use of force in Sunday's raid, with each party making its own proposals for how to resolve the conflict. Our Kim Jongun has more.
Korea's rival political parties had mixed reactions to a police raid that played out over a tense 12-hour period on Sunday as the rail strike rolled into its 15th day on Monday. Civic groups have since issued a series of statements denouncing the government's use of force in the raid on the headquarters of the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, an umbrella labor group. The ruling's Henry Party has defended the police action, saying it was justified because union leaders had defied their arrest warrants.
Using the police against an illegal strike is what the government ought to do to protect the rights of its citizens.
The main opposition Democratic Party moved quickly to protest the raid, demanding that 3 related parliamentary committees open sessions on Monday to find a peaceful settlement to the dispute. DP Chairman Kim Jongun criticized the government's handling of the matter, saying the raid highlighted the Park administration's unilateral and dogmatic method of governance.
The government's use of force is not legitimate when discussion can be held to resolve the situation.
The DP has advocated for new legislation specifically designed to ban the privatization of the bullet train service. The Henry Party rejected that, but proposed the 2 parties sign a joint resolution stating that both parties are against the privatization of the KORAIL. Kim Jongun, Arirang News.
Earlier today, an opposition alliance submitted a bill to the National Assembly that calls for a special probe separate from that of the prosecutions into allegations that state institutions meddled in last year's presidential election. Kim Hyun-ji reports.
A bill that calls for a special separate investigation into allegations that state agencies interfered in last year's presidential election has been submitted to the National Assembly. The bill was drafted jointly by the main opposition Democratic Party, the minor opposition Justice Party, and independent lawmaker Choo ShinSoo. It targets the Defense Ministry, the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, the Ministry of Security and Public Administration, and the Unification Ministry, in addition to the spy agency, whose former director is standing trial for allegedly ordering agents to post online messages to sway public opinion in favor of then-ruling party candidate and now President Park Geun-hye. In addition, the bill says civilians who are believed to have taken part in illegal activities should also be subject to a special probe. Further, the bill says the probe should target the presidential office, the spy agency, the prosecution, and the police for allegedly making attempts to downsize and conceal the results of earlier investigations and tamper with them. As for who should lead the special probe, the bill says a parliamentary committee should recommend 2 candidates and 1 be selected afterward. Saying President Park benefited the most from the electioneering scandal, Democratic Party leader Kim Hwan-gil stressed that a special independent investigation was necessary.
I repeat once again that if the Park administration and the ruling Henry Party do not accept our proposal, they will face an even stronger resistance from the public.
The ruling Henry Party strongly condemned the opposition's move.
To say that the prosecution's probe is poor and demand a separate investigation now is an attempt by the opposition to carry this issue into next year's local elections in June and use it to their advantage.
It remains unclear whether the joint bill will lead to the appointment of a special investigator, as launching a probe requires a majority of lawmakers to be in attendance in the plenary session, and a majority of those voting for it. The ruling Henry Party holds 155 seats in the 300-member parliament. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
Korea and China will hold their first foreign affairs and security dialogue in Beijing on this Monday. Senior officials from the 2 nations' foreign and defense ministries will take part in the meeting to discuss regional and global security issues, as well as ways to further cooperate in these fields. In particular, they are expected to focus on the security situation on the Korean Peninsula after the execution of the North Korean leader's uncle Jang Sung-taek, and the escalating tensions in Northeast Asia after China's recent establishment of a new air defense zone. The meeting follows an agreement between Presidents Park Geun-hye and Xi Jinping during their summit talks in June to strengthen the 2 countries' security dialogue channel. And amid rising concerns over possible provocations following the execution of the North Korean leader's uncle Jang Sung-taek, the South Korean military is bolstering its defense capabilities along its northwestern border with the north. South Korea's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Choi Yoon-hee, and commander of U.S. Forces Korea, Curtis Scaparotti, paid a visit to the border area on Monday to check combat readiness and to encourage frontline troops there. Choi and Scaparotti also held a meeting to discuss the combined forces' counter-strategies against North Korea's various provocations. The South Korean military raised and maintained high-level surveillance along the border last week after Defense Minister Kim Gwon-jin warned a provocation could be on the cards soon. Former NBA star Dennis Rodman will probably have to head home from his latest visit to North Korea without meeting with the country's young leader and his close friend Kim Jongun. Speaking as he prepared to leave Pyongyang, Rodman told the Associated Press on Sunday that he had not yet met with Kim, but stressed that he didn't expect to see Kim every time he travels to North Korea. He added his current trip was for training North Korean basketball players who will take part in the match Rodman is organising for Kim's birthday on January 8th.
With the debt level of public companies here in Korea increasing by the year, the government has demanded the CEOs of these enterprises come up with a plan to reduce their debt and improve their management structure. Our Oh Jin-joo has the details.
The total debt of Korea's 9 major state-owned companies has surged by 18 trillion won, or nearly $17 billion over the first 6 months of this year. The 9 enterprises include Korea Land and Housing Corporation and Korea Electric Power Corporation. Data released Sunday by the state-run management information provider of public agencies, Alios, shows the increase in the 6-month period is over 70% of the total growth in debt in the year 2012. Analysts say it's highly likely the debt level of these 9 companies in 2013 will exceed that of last year despite government efforts to rein in public debt. To tackle the growing debt, President Park Geun-hye has ordered the heads of major state-owned enterprises to make plans for reducing their debt and improving their management and report their plans to the government during a meeting that will be scheduled for sometime in late January. This will be her first meeting with the leaders of public firms since taking office in February. A high-ranking government official says it will serve as an opportunity to check whether these companies have done their homework and raise the alarm on lax management. The government also has plans to remove the chief executives from their posts, even if their terms aren't over, should they receive poor grades on a performance evaluation that'll be conducted next September. Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy Yoon Sang-jik on Monday slammed the leaders of public firms, saying they lack an awareness of how poorly their firms are managed and the determination to cut the mounting debt. Yoon rejected a set of reform measures submitted by state-owned energy companies and asked for a more comprehensive and effective plan by next month. He made it clear that the government will replace anyone who is insincere in pushing ahead with the necessary reforms and emphasized that those people will have to hand in resignations even before the government takes action. Oh Jin-joo, Arirang News.
In another sign that the Korean economy is on the road to recovery, Korea's labor productivity index rose by nearly 3% in the third quarter of this year, from a year earlier to 98.1. The index indicates the amount of goods or services a worker produces in a given amount of time. Analysts attribute the increase to a 1% jump in the nation's industrial output, thanks to growing consumption and investment in the construction sector, while labor hours have dropped by around 2%. The labor productivity index of the manufacturing sector increased by 1% during this period, while that of the service sector surged by almost 4%.
For your fill of Korean and international news, join Chae Yu-sun and Mark Broom every weekday at lunchtime. Newsline at noon.
Plenary session this Wednesday and vote on the government restructuring bills.
Tens of thousands of anti-government protesters in Thailand staged a rally Sunday in their latest attempt to force Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra to resign and put a halt to national elections in February. Kim Jongun reports.
Protesters massed peacefully at several sites across Bangkok Sunday evening as part of ongoing rallies to topple Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra and disrupt electoral candidate registrations. Blowing whistles, a symbol of the weeks-long protests, the crowd waved Thai flags and chanted, "Yingluck, get out." Demonstrators want to oust Yingluck and the influence of her brother Thaksin, who protesters accuse of corruption and abuse of power. Protest leader and former opposition lawmaker Suthep Thakksuban urged protesters to blockade the city's democracy monument to stop candidates from signing up for the election when registration opens on Monday.
We're going to sleep at the registration venues from tonight, and wherever they're going to relocate the registration venues, we will follow to show our power of disapproval everywhere.
He told supporters that forcing Yingluck from office is necessary to purge corruption and money politics, demanding political reforms before any new election. Earlier in the weekend, Yingluck formally proposed a plan for making political reforms, which includes having candidates take an oath to support the creation of a reform council and having the council's representatives come from all walks of life at local and national levels. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
The Japanese government has decided to extend the radiation cleanup surrounding the Fukushima nuclear power plant by up to 3 more years. Japanese media reports that the country's Environment Ministry will soon announce the new decontamination schedule, which was previously planned to be completed by the end of next March. Out of a total 11 areas subject to the cleanup, only one city, Tamura, has seen completed work. Quoting plant operator TEPCO, reports also say nearly 3 times the legal amount of radioactive strontium-90 was found some 25 meters below ground of reactor number 4, suggesting contaminated water may have seeped deeper underground than previously thought.
Rebels have taken over the capital of the oil-producing region in South Sudan, adding to fears that the world's newest country could be sliding towards civil war. South Sudan's government said Sunday that rebels loyal to former Vice President Riek Machar have seized Bentiu, the capital of Unity State. The United States began evacuating U.S. citizens from the rebel-controlled town of Bor to the capital city Juba over the weekend. Foreigners from other countries have also been flown to the capital on UN and U.S. civilian helicopters. On Saturday, 3 U.S. military aircraft were attacked by small arms fire from the ground as they were trying to approach the town of Bor, wounding 4 U.S. service members. South Sudan's President Salva Kiir says an attempted coup by forces loyal to Machar triggered ethnic clashes last week that killed hundreds. A massive new market is about to open to Apple after the firm reached a deal with China to sell its iPhones there. After more than 6 years of negotiations, Apple signed a multi-year agreement with China Mobile, one of the world's largest wireless carriers with 760 million subscribers. According to a statement released on Sunday, the iPhone 5S and 5C models will be available starting January 17th. The price of the iPhones and other financial terms of the deal have not yet been released, but analysts expect Apple to sell up to 30 million iPhones in China next year. The iPhone has been available on smaller carriers in China for years, but this new deal gives Apple the chance to hit new heights in one of the world's biggest markets.
In sports news, free agent outfielder and Korean baseball star Choo ShinSoo has reached agreement on a 7-year, $130 million contract with the Texas Rangers, making him the highest-paid Asian player to ever play in the major league. The 31-year-old's mega deal eclipses the previous record held by the New York Yankees' Japanese outfielder Suzuki Ichiro. Choo was one of the lowest-paid players in MLB history, making less than $400,000 when he became a full-time big leaguer back in 2008. Choo will officially become a Texas Ranger pending a physical examination at some point in the next few days. Now, Korea had been in the grips of a serious cold snap until a couple of days ago, with the mercury levels well below freezing. But the frigid temperatures didn't stop Koreans from embracing the special sights, sounds and savoury tastes that the winter season has to offer. Paul Lee shows us more.
Here high up in the snowy mountain pass of Taegwalyeong in the eastern province of Gangwon-do lies a sea of fish basking in the frigid open air. It's here that the local specialty food called hwangtae, or dried yellow pollock, is made, with the assistance of the freezing temperatures and piercing winds.
If it is not cold enough, the meat will not freeze. That's why we're working so hard to quickly freeze the fish in these cold conditions.
The tasty fish, however, will take some time to prepare after being frozen and thawed repeatedly on these drying racks over the next 4 months. Those looking to escape to a winter wonderland can travel west to Hwacheong County, where a breathtaking ice amusement park has been built inside a cave. Visitors of all ages are able to enjoy the colorful bright lights that decorate the various famous landmarks sculpted out of blocks of ice.
It's a little cold, but there's so many fun things for the children to experience and for the family to have a great time. We hope to come back during the Trout Festival.
Meanwhile, in the central city of Daegu, a shooting range provides a heart-thumping opportunity to ring in the holiday season with a bang.
I came here with my friends to go shooting after attending a wedding. Getting rid of some stress feels good, and it's even more fun when there's a friendly wager.
Whether it's freeze-drying golden fish or squeezing off some rounds, the crisp, cool air offers many reasons to get out and enjoy winter. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
Time now to check in with our Lee Ji-yeon at the Weather Center to see what the weather has in store for us here in Korea and around the world. Hello there, Ji-yeon.
Good afternoon, Mark and Yusun. Well, yesterday was winter solstice, which means it was the longest night of the year. The night was 4 hours, 52 minutes longer than the day. So I was wondering if you guys had a bowl of patjuk or red bean porridge yesterday.
I didn't get a chance to.
Oh.
No, well, this old lady that lives next door to me bought me a bowl over.
Nice.
Very kind of her, but I didn't get a chance to eat it. I put it in the fridge. Perhaps I'll eat it later today. But
Right.
Why do Koreans eat this kind of porridge on the solstice?
Well, we believe that patjuk will chase away evil spirits and bring us a healthy and prosperous new year. And you know, the new year is just around the corner, but weather should be super nice this afternoon. Temperature will be much milder as we'll finally get a break from the cold, so we can expect mild temperatures under plenty of sunshine. Though we have a thin layer of clouds hovering over the peninsula, but the skies will clear out as we go through the day. That should help dusty levels return to normal as well. And tomorrow should be even milder than today with lots of sunshine, and we'll continue to have mild temperatures through the middle of the week. So if you have plans to spend some time outdoors on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, you won't have to worry about shivering in the cold. With that in mind, here are the readings for this afternoon. The afternoon highs Seoul will peak at 3 degrees, Daegu and Gwangju will get up to 7 and 6, and Busan will see a high of 9 under lots of sunshine. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju should see a high of 8 in the afternoon. Daejeon and Dokdo will get up to 5 and 6, and there's another freezing day in store for Mount Kumgang at -3. Now that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. That's all for me today. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And let's send it back to Mark and Yusan in the studio.
Well, thank you for sending it back to us there, Jian. And those are the stories we're following at this hour. We'll always keep you updated on the rail strike if anything happens there, of course. And if you want to watch clips of our news programming, you can always access our very comprehensive VOD service at www.arirang.co.kr.
Well, join us again tomorrow right here on NEWSLINE at noon.